Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. The title of the program today is kind of simple. It's Should Bernie Sanders Run Now That His Policies Are Becoming a Bit More Mainstream? And I know a lot of my Democrats are going to say those things are really not big. That is really not that is really not mainstream, Egberto. I think it is, but here we go, my friend. Subtitle: Bernie Sanders changed the conversation in this country. Democratic socialism is no longer a dirty word. As the population gets younger and enlightened, they see the light. And we'll kind of touch on some of those other subjects in a minute. So what I say, it is time in the presidential cycle where politicians determine if they will be candidates for office. Elizabeth Warren threw her hat into the ring. Should Bernie Sanders run? We have newcomers in the game. Is it not the time for a woman? Is it not the time to pass the mantle? It is important that we get it right. It is important that we continue to grow. It is important that we stay fresh. Very important. We cannot stagnate. We cannot sit back and just think, oh, things are going to be okay if we just maintain the status quo. My question to you is, how great are things right now? By continuing to follow the status quo since the Reagan Revolution, how successful have we been? Sans the Affordable Care Act, which made many compromises, please tell me what toeing the middle has done for the average American citizen. We take a look at the charts. The charts tell us that we continue to fall behind. The charts tell us we continue to fall behind. So, folks, I should take the telephone number script off of this because, as it turns out, given that the telephone is not working, we'll just put the website up there on the legend. We're not going to have telephones today. So what I ask you to do is go ahead and send me any messages that you have to send. Welcome aboard, Kathleen Marin Morgan, John T. Grimes, welcome aboard, Dan Kettering, Liz McCann, Mike Cizak. All my good friends are here. John, of course, the one and only Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. We're going to have a good show for you today. Okay, I'm going to go to the blog of the week. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get to. Well, beforehand, I wanted to tell you, New York Times reporting, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is cancer-free and on the mend after her recent surgery for disease, a Supreme Court spokeswoman said on Friday. Her recovery from surgery is on track. The spokeswoman, Kathleen Argberg, said in a statement, post-surgery evaluation indicates no evidence of remaining disease and no further treatment is required. Justice Ginsburg, 85, underwent surgery in late December to remove 2 nodules from her left lung. She missed this week's arguments and will be absent from the bench next week too. Ms. Argberg said Justice Ginsburg will continue to work from her home next week and will participate in the consideration and decisions of the cases on the basis of the briefs and transcripts of oral arguments. Did we dodge another bullet? I sure hope so, because I don't think right now it turns out that we have Justice Roberts, who's becoming, I don't want to call him a moderate, he's definitely not that. But what's occurring with him right now is he is sort of becoming a little less conservative, because I think he realizes the explosion if he continues to be completely centered on the right. So he's He's becoming a quasi-reliable, moderate right-winger. I don't know what that means. But anyhow, blog of the week. We're going to go to the blog of the week, and I'm going to do the blog of the week without sound today because I don't dare try to do the sound with all the different problems that we've been having over the last recent days with the blog of the week sound. But anyhow, the title of that is as follows, and it is, should Bernie Sanders run again? I say no for now. I say no for now. You tell me what you think. I was a national delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016. It was a wild time. Bernie had the most ardent supporters who adored the man. I supported his policies wholeheartedly. I said I supported, I mean I support his policies wholeheartedly. If not for the prism of the plutocratic media and a Democratic Party establishment who had settled on who it is nominee was going to be, Sanders would have become president. I am confident that Sanders would have beaten Donald Trump. They brought up a lot of issues that, other people that have made that comment. I read some articles, mostly from the mainstream media, that said, well, in as much as all the polls say that Bernie Sanders would have beat Donald Trump, when they brought up that he was with Che Guevara, when they bring up that he was with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, taking pictures with them, when they bring up that he wrote that article about prostitutes or something of that nature, America's mind would have changed. I mean, I don't think the mainstream media, I don't think the Democrats, I don't think any one of these folks understand exactly what is going on now. America has elected a sexist, racist, xenophobe, a misogynist with video evidence of the bad things that he did, with archival evidence of all the negative things that he's done. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share the program so we can bring more people into the fold. So that is what we have. We have a misogynist as president, and we have videos of all the bad things this guy has done. And America still, yes, he didn't get the majority of the vote, but he got enough in the electoral college places to win. With all of that out there, they elected him. And I'm going to tell something that Democrats are not going to like to hear. And that is, he sort of out-progressived them to some of those folks that were past Obama voters. All right? When he went out and he said, I'm going to give you better health care, Democrats continued to say, we're going to keep Obamacare. Yes. Again, remember, Hillary won most of the votes. I understand that. But they went out and they were still just saying, we're going to keep Obamacare. We're going to be the guardians of Obamacare. And he's going to, and Trump is campaigning saying, I'm going to give you the best health care since apple pie. But Democrats were so scared to say, we are going to give everybody health care if you elect us. So I'm still talking 2016 here. I am saying that Donald Trump, forget about the racist, homophobic, sexist, all that stuff. He out-progressived many progressives on many issues in as much as they were all lies, but he said them. If we don't understand the pathology that occurred during the election of Donald Trump, we are likely to make the same mistakes in 2018. Again, I hear Nancy Pelosi doing the same thing when she tries to restrict a whole lot of what Ocasio-Cortez is saying. When there's an article in Politico today that talks about how the Democrats are getting exasperated with all the talks that they're hearing from Ocasio-Cortez. They better watch out. Ocasio-Cortez is loved by people who normally don't vote but will vote because they see her as someone that's going to bring them something, as somebody who's going to bring equity, as somebody who's going to bring an egalitarian society. When we have Claire McCaskill say, oh, what has she done? And doing real things is difficult. No, doing real things is not, it's not that real things are difficult. It's difficult if you're dependent on the monies from the corporations and the lobbyists. That's going to make it difficult for you to do the things. But when you don't care about being wealthy, when you don't care about taking all that money from these corps, then it's not difficult at all. It is not difficult to be egalitarian. It is not difficult to be egalitarian if you don't worship the mighty dollar and think you must have more than anybody else. And that is what scares many with Ocasio-Cortez. That is what has always scared everybody with Bernie Sanders, because he's saying, look, we're going to stop this thing of giving away everybody's labor at a premium while a few keep the spoils. We're going to stop doing that. So anyhow, going back to the blog of the week, politics is a dirty sport. And if you enter it, you have to be willing to play it. The bidirectional animosity in the Democratic Party, a remnant of the 2016 primary, needs to be over. So we have a lot of Democratic socialists in the Democratic Party, or that's voting Democrats now. Embrace them. We have moderates. Embrace them. We have centrists. Embrace them. And when we go to the primaries, those of us who want those ideas that are really progressive, that works for everybody, we vote together, or we vote to get those folks elected. And then again, when it's time to govern, or when it's time to vote in the general election, we all stay together and elect those people. If the progressive wing of the Democratic Party wins, that's who wins. And then we go and we support it. Just like you've asked us to vote for Hillary back in 2016, and the vast majority of us did. The vast majority of Bernie Sanders supporters did. Most of the people who sent, or a large percentage of the people who sent me as a Bernie supporter, as a Bernie delegate to Philadelphia, were in fact Hillary Clinton supporters, because my cohort, the people that I hang with, know that we are not asking folks to be in sync in their thoughts. We're asking folks to support the middle class and the poor and do what's right, and that is what they knew they were sending. They knew that if we didn't get Bernie and we didn't in Philadelphia, that many of us Bernie supporters would do the right thing by the party. And I'm saying by the party because this is the party that this is the only party where progressives can make a dent and support the best option. Now, I've been fighting like hell the best option versus capitulation, all those particular issues. Look, we have to be pragmatic and we have to do it right. Let me continue with the blog, and then we'll continue with that as well. It's clear that many on the left, including the establishment media, have already started their attempt to kill a Bernie Sanders primary run by a thousand cuts. If Bernie wants to run, none of that will deter him. Instead, it will simply inflame his passionate supporters. I want to tell, there are a lot of Democrats out there. And, in fact, there's some Bernie Sanders supporters that I need to talk to as well. My Bernie Sanders brothers. I'm a Berniac still. Let me tell you something. And by the way, I call myself a Berniac, but I am a Democrat that will make sure that we reign, because this is where things happen. So, we need to bring the entire party together. But here's the deal. A lot of Democrats right now, and it's not the right wing, are bringing out all these issues about Bernie Sanders. There's sexism in his campaign. There is a misogynist in his campaign. I believe that's true. All right? I believe that is true. It's not the man. But Hillary, we have to remember, had a misogynist in her campaign. She knew about it. She kept him. Bernie found out about it. Bernie said he's gone. What I'm trying to say here is this. We cannot, within intra-party, bring these things up, because what then occurs is we create the animosity between factions that doesn't need to be there. So I don't want to see Bernie's people attacking Hillary's people. When I say Hillary's, I'm just talking factions in the party. I don't want to see Bernie's people, a progressive wing of the party, trying to find dirt on the other side of the party. And vice versa. I don't want Bernie people going out like I don't like what they're doing to Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke is not as progressive as I want Beto O'Rourke to be. But Beto O'Rourke, as he ran around the state of Texas, as he spoke to people of all cultures in all regions, Beto O'Rourke changed his tune. That's all we can ask. I don't want stagnant politicians. I want politicians who are given the option to change. And I want to reward them for that change. So Beto was a guy, from what I read, supported some oil stuff, etc. But as he joined the movement, as he saw where his support was coming from, as he saw where the vibrancy of the party was, as he saw where the life, the energy of the party was, he began to change. And people can say, well, was it genuine though or not? I don't care. I don't care if a politician is genuine with the statements that they make. All I want them to do is make those statements and then for us to hold them accountable for those statements. I don't know anybody's heart. Hell, I don't know your heart. We don't know that. So it is important for us to listen to what they say and move on from there. So my goal is this. I don't want us to be intra-party having these negative things. Hit people up on policy. When Kamala Harris jumps into the fold, we can ask her, hey, Kamala, are you going to support Medicare for all wholeheartedly? Yes or no? Okay, Kamala, are some of your donors going to be coming from the pharmaceutical industry? Are your donors going to be coming from the hospital industry? Well, then how can you support these policies if you're going to get support there? Answer that and tell us how should we judge you if we give you the honor of being the candidate of the Democratic Party. That is what we have to do. Those are policy questions that have nothing to do with denigrating the candidate on some other type of issues. They'll have enough of that when they are in the general. And people are going to say, well, we want to weed those things out in the primary. Here's the reality. You can't weed anything out in the primary because if they don't find stuff on you, they'll make things up. Donald Trump proved that you can just lie and some people believe it. What you have to be able to do is fight every lie and not leave any lie unturned, undeterred, unanswered. That's all we have to do. Okay, continuing. The reports of sexism and misogyny in the Sanders campaign is likely real. We must call on these horrendous acts not only in select places, but everywhere. I've been to meetings where I was shocked to find out how deep is that cancer. It is everywhere, and no organization is immune. So, I mean, for all of those calling out Bernie Sanders for the sexism that occurred in his campaign, we can find that all over the place. Every room, I've seen sexist men, misogynist men that I would have never thought would be that way. In places that I would have never thought they're that way. But they are. So what I'm saying is let's not beat up on each other as these primaries start to build. America is at an impasse, and there is little time to allow external superfluous fluff to overtake the real debate on issues. The Me Too era, a white progressive male who is a thorn to the establishment, will be made into an example. It will suck the air out of the debate. What am I saying right there? I'm saying Bernie Sanders had his run, and I think he has to think deeply whether he wants the narrative to be of the policies that he supports or what we know the mainstream media does all the time, which is to concentrate on the issues that have nothing to do to help the middle class and the poor. And they prefer it that way because then they don't have to speak and talk about issues. So if they're going to have a Me Too discussion about Bernie Sanders' campaign, they're not discussing all the policies, pay it forward education. They won't be discussing Medicare for all. They won't be discussing forgiveness of student loans. They won't be discussing issues of having your children, having daycare for your children for everybody who wants to work. All these issues of importance suddenly go away because they're speaking about the Me Too issues in these male campaigns. So, I think it's interesting. It would be magnanimous for some candidates to know the environment, and it's not about acquiescing to the environment, is maybe doing what's necessary for the better good. That is what we call selfless. There are many of us that have done a whole lot for the better good. Make less money for the better good. Lose money for the better good. Cash in for the better good. And I think politicians have to learn to do that as well. Now, continuing with the blog. So should Bernie Sanders run? Progressives will have a hard enough time getting airtime. Having two will likely dilute the possibility for any one of them to win, meaning either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. Our movement is about the country and not the individual. Elizabeth Warren has staked out the progressive position. She's the first one to jump into the race. The reality is, I am yearning to have the United States of America governed by a female president. It is time. Bernie Sanders could consider being magnanimous and selfless and support the most progressive campaign possible. He can help out and continue being the messaging firebrand. Again, should Bernie run? No. I hope he considers being the progressive ambassador, doing the rounds throughout the alternative media, building from the ground up. Now, if he decides to run, I must admit it would be hard for me not to be one of his national delegates again. He would likely get my support. And that's the issue. And I think that's the issue with a whole lot of us. We know that this is a standard bearer of this message. And we also know that he's a tested bearer of this message that almost garnered the Democratic nomination. Absent a whole lot of things, but again, as I said, it's a dirty sport. But absent a whole lot of these issues, he would have been, there's a good likelihood he would have been president. The question is, should he run? Can we overcome what the media is going to do? Can we overcome the media trying to have false equivalencies between what has occurred in Bernie Sanders' campaign and the sexist misogynists in the office today? We know they're going to do that. Should we allow that? Should we just run from having that fight? Or should we have that fight and say we're going to prevail? Now, bloggers and independent media outlets like mine, I mean, we're going to be in the bandwagon and we're going to be there telling the truth. But I mean, we're not going to have the type of audience that immediately will be had from MSNBC or Fox News or CNN. We're not. That is the truth. So how do we mitigate that? How do we handle that? Should he run? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Let me look at the page and see what you guys are saying about whether he should run or not. We're going to find out what's your thought. Should he run? Should Bernie run? Okay, then let's see. Let's back up here. Let's go. From Michael Rudnin, during the 2016 primaries, twice as many young people voted for Bernie than for Clinton and Trump combined. If the elections are decided by the youth, Bernie wins. I agree with that. Kathleen Morgan says, hi all. John T. Grimes, I'd love to see Sanders Warren ticket, but whomever runs, I hope the Democratic Party superdelegates represent the people instead of the DNC. Agreed? Dan Kettering gave us a simple answer. Yes, he should run. Liz McCann, big nope on Bernie running from me. All right, Liz, noted. Mike Cizek, Sanders apologizes for harassment among 2016 campaign staff. Yes, I read about that. Trump White House urging allies to prepare for possible RBG departure. Think about that. Donald Trump is talking about getting a third Supreme Court Justice, Elizabeth Ginsburg. Or RGB, what am I talking about? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we need you. You've got to hold on. Lawrence Sims, in response to Michael Rodman, a lot of Bernie supporters' fundraising strategy were from Obama development and may not necessarily transfer over to 2020 because of the negativity surrounding 2016. I think you have a point there, Mr. Sims, but we will only know when it starts. Mike Cisak, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson slams Generation Snowflake. PC zealots, putting us backwards. Well, look, we have vagabonds in every generation, you know. We have them in the millennials, we have them in the Gen X's, we have them in the baby boomers or whatever. Now, all we can do is judge by example. And if I look at what we baby boomers have done so far to society in general, we have a lot to answer for. We have a lot to answer for. And I'm not talking about those who voted appropriately or correctly. I'm talking for those who fell for the Kool-Aid of low tax, absolutely low taxes at all cost, absolutely loose regulation at all costs. There's several depressions that we've had. And notice I said depression because for many people, the recessions that attacked many in the upper middle class were depressions for a lot of people. It took their wealth completely away. So let's understand what's going on here. Okay, Lawrence Sims, Donald and others ran on dismantling Obamacare, and the low-educated didn't realize that it was the same as the Affordable Care Act. Yeah, that's true. They do now. But you know, there's a trick that's going on as well, and this is what I talk about the media not reporting, and this is what I talk about a lot of us not putting out there in the fold, and I'm going to put it out there right now. Donald Trump has allowed the sale of insurance that lasts 364 days because it's a temporary insurance, or because it's an insurance that only lasts a short amount of time, technically speaking. It can be sold without the Obamacare rules. And since there's no penalty on the mandate anymore, you know, there's still a mandate, they can't remove the mandate, but there's no charge for the mandate. In other words, you don't get penalized anymore. It means that a lot of dumpy insurance companies, a lot of fraudulent insurance companies are selling cheap insurance that people buy thinking that they have insurance. And then, most people, again, don't have to use the major parts of these insurance at all. So they go ahead and they purchase cheap insurance. And as they purchase cheap insurance to them, to their pocketbook, Trumpism is working. Look, I could get this much less expensive policy. I didn't have to go to healthcare.gov to buy that $300 or $400 or $500 a month policy per individual. I could do it for $150 a month. No subsidies needed. Oh, you see? And to them, to their reality, Trumpism was work for them. It worked for them. Now, for the few that are going to get sick, let's say 10% of those that will get sick, and they then realize that the insurance that they purchased was junk, that's the end of the world for them. And Trump will never get a vote from them again. But, doesn't matter. 90% of the people never had to feel the pain of a fraudulent insurance company, so he still gets a majority. People have to learn how these things work, right? The reason these Republicans don't mind lying to people and saying pre-existing conditions are covered, doing what they did yesterday and voted against Nancy Pelosi's bill supporting pre-existing conditions, and then lie to their constituencies that, look, we are supporting pre-existing condition, and look, you can even get health care cheaper than you can on Obamacare. It's a story that it's a lie, but enough of the outward things that people see gives it the semblance of truth. Great. And the fact that we aren't pointing that out ad nauseum, the fact that Democrats aren't going on TV and saying, "Hey, if you happen to," if I were running Democrat advertising right now, if I were running PSAs for Democrats right now, I would have a PSA saying, "If you bought that insurance policy for X amount of dollars that that was not sanctioned by healthcare.gov, read the fine lines. You may not really be covered. How comes we don't see those ads? Trump has closed the government down. And Trump has ads out saying, I am trying to protect you. I am trying to protect you. The Democrats have the government, shut down. These guys know how to market. These guys are snake oil salespeople. And they know how to do it. And we are not fighting back as we should. Politics Done Right is telling you the truth. Politics Done Right is telling you, hey, look, if you are buying one of those policies off the Obamacare network, you're getting screwed. I am telling you that. If you have one of those cheap policies, you are getting screwed. If you happen to break a leg or get sick, read the fine lines. And we should have a PSA. We have billionaires running. They want to impeach Donald Trump because he got elected invalidly. Why don't those billionaires just pull their money together and start putting those PSAs on? You have to ask yourself the real question. What are they really in for? Why is it they want Ocasio-Cortez to shut up? You see, the thing about it is, the reality is not that, oh, we have these liberal billionaires. There are no liberal billionaires. There are no progressive billionaires, period. Neither Bill Gates, neither Warren Buffett, neither the guy who runs the impeach.org site. None of them are progressives. Yes, they want Donald Trump gone, but they are going to do absolutely nothing to change the economic system so that guys like them can't keep and accumulate billions. That's not a progressive value. You can't be a half progressive who wants billionaires who really became billionaires off of the backs of everybody else. Do not tell me anybody that somehow Bill Gates deserve. I know you love a lot of progressives. They just love Bill Gates. They just love Warren Buffett. I think they're nice guys. They play the game very well. But don't sit down and fall for that oh, these guys are benevolent and they somehow, they're going to give away all their money at the end of the, when they die or whatever. That doesn't mean anything to me. That they're going to give away money that other people made for them. Oh, wow, how benevolent. No, don't say I'm going to give away the money. Return the money into these companies and create and hire more and realize that you weren't really the earner of that money. But our thought process is not there. We have been indoctrinated into believing that these billionaires earned their keep, that they earned what they have. They earned it because the system is rigged so that folks with capital, so that folks that were honored to have other people invest capital in them so that then they can multiply capital is somehow the way to richness and somehow mean they've earned it. It's a different thought process. It's a different thought process. And to many, when I say they don't deserve it, they're, oh, you are just envious. You're green. I honestly am not. I'm a software developer as well. And in the past, I've made my complete living with these two and this. I chose to let that go to do this because it's not a sustainable system. It is simply not a sustainable system. It's not an equitable system. When I develop a piece of software, and I spent hours and hours and hours working on it, and I recovered, let's say, whatever hourly rate I want to do, and I keep making money off of this thing for a while. You have to ask yourself, what about those others that are working hours and hours and hours and somebody can just lay them off? We have to have a different kind of system. We have to have a different kind of system. A system where you're really rewarded for your worth for society. A teacher goes to work 9 months a year. They work orders of magnitude in hours. I mean, people say, oh, they only work a certain amount of hours a day, and then they get 3 months off for summer. Do you realize how many hours? I sit in a Starbucks for hours. Do you know how many teachers and professors I see in Starbucks grading papers on their time, studying on their time to present a new theory to kids? You know, they don't work 8 hours a day. They work way above 8 hours a day. But they're not rewarded like the stockbroker who may only work 8 hours a day. Sometimes he crams when he wants to make a quick something that's maybe happening on another time zone. The second chapter of the book was supposed to be out a month ago. The second chapter of my book was supposed to be out a month ago, and it isn't. I hope to get it out pretty soon. And the reason why is there's so much other things that I've been working on. But here's what I want to tell you. The chapter that I'm working on is about indoctrination. And the reason I put that chapter right after the introduction is because to read the rest of the book, I think we are going to have to do it from a point of view that we're not indoctrinated. We're going to have to, because indoctrination is not a bad thing if it's equitable for everybody. If the results of that indoctrination doesn't hurt people. But the indoctrination into an economic system that hurts people, that is not only dangerous, it kills. And it doesn't only kill because it creates inequalities. It doesn't only kill because it creates wealth disparities. It doesn't only kill because of that. It kills because to sustain it, what has to happen is you have to have coercion all over the place. I'll give a good example. The other day, somebody said, Egberto, why don't you speak about Venezuela? You know, I'm always hesitant to speak about Venezuela because I have a lot of Venezuelan friends, right? And a lot of friends that I have from Venezuela here in Kingwood, the problem with that is that these are the wealthier Venezuelans, right? That they left. I shouldn't say wealthy. I should just say middle-class Venezuelans that were doing very well. That left because, yes, their lives were going to change under the then president of Venezuela, not Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez created a democratic socialist state. And in the process, he took a whole lot of people out of poverty. People started to do well for quite a while until the CIA and all these other folks got involved, because you cannot have a strong oil exporting country who is starting to lend money to Argentina and Brazil and all these places. Remember that. When the oil markets were doing well and Hugo Chavez started with his program, he was creating los estados el gran estado de Boliviano. What he was doing is he was making so much money with his oil and his resources that he intended to found the United States of South America. He was going to create some sort of an alliance between Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, and all these other places, right? He was going to change the order because the amount of natural resources down there, if you had an equitable, if you had a political system developed that created an equitable system for all, do you know the danger that represents for the First Nations? Do you know what that means? When you have it that a small amount of folks, when you have it that oil companies can't go and take oil out of the land that belongs to us all and say just a few shareholders benefit from it while we give you a small stipend for a lease, when you can no longer do that, when it is recognized that all the natural resources of a country belong to all its citizens, and as such, all profits from those natural resources should go to the treasury and then be used for schooling, highways, and everything else, and not to make somebody else overrich. Yeah, you recover. If you want to have the private industry dig and find the oil, do that, take the risk. And if you're successful, we decide that you're going to make X amount of dollars for being successful. You know, people say, oh, well, that will stifle innovation. Do you really think people care if innovation is stifled? They don't care if innovation is stifled. They care that they are not making a whole lot of money. These people don't, if they cared about innovation, there are a lot of innovative things that are out there right now that they won't do. We could get better batteries right now, but we don't want better batteries because if we get better batteries, it makes solar energy. It also makes wind energy viable. Because think about this. Now you have every windmill has a battery in it, so that when wind is blowing, it's charging the battery, and everybody's getting fed electricity from those batteries. There's a whole lot of technology out there that should be in right now. If they really care, if people really cared about, it'll stifle innovation, we would be off of oil right now, and we would be into wave technology. We would be into wind technology, solar technology, biomass technologies. All of those things, there is enough of all of that now to replace oil. We will still use oil. We'll use oil to make certain fertilizers. We'll use oil to make certain plastics, etc. But eventually, we'll also use growing for making oil. And the thing about it is, having to use so much biomass also means we're going to have a whole lot of crap growing all over places, in the deserts included. And what that means is we have a carbon sink. We're taking that much more carbon out of the air. But that is not economically viable in a capitalist society. The things that we need to do to make life better is not viable under the capitalist model. Why? Because you have to capitalize something, then you have to recover that on the capital. There's a whole issue behind that if we changed an economic system, we could actually really do innovative work. Because at that point, we're not at the behest of, we have to do things so that it makes money now in X amount of time. Instead, we'll be doing things that are just right. The human power is there, the brain power is there, the economic system that puts all of that together isn't. And you are indoctrinated into believing that only one system is there that can actually make that change. It is not. And that is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about in the future. We're going to talk about, wait a minute, why don't we think better? Or why do we think the way we do? We think the way we do because it would change the power structure. Power structure would now be based on what you really provide to society. And a stockbroker and an executive for a corporation provides very little to society. They are the ones who play the numbers game. They are the ones who play the rules of the economic system. But when we have those creators that really run things, that is when our economic system will begin to flourish. We have to get off the ideology we have to stop making us work for an economy and start making an economy work for us. It's a different thought process. And how we get there is not about me saying something or some other person saying something. How we get there is putting our heads together, removing the indoctrination that we have a system that we have to follow, and going forward from there. We have to first say, we don't just look at the economic, we don't just work within this economic system. We start to think outside of the box. What would, and it doesn't mean blowing the system up completely so that there are disruptions. What it means is drawing down. But what we have to do that is for the masses, the people have to take control so that the billionaires who are paying lobbyists and all these guys to control us all realize that the pitchforks are going to come if you continue to do that. You see? They've extracted us all from us all. And this is very possible, but we have to take the power away from those who have no right to the power they have. I repeat, we have to take the power away from those who do not deserve the power that they have. They haven't earned it. They've used a rigged system to get it. All right, let me go ahead and see if let me go refresh this here and see if I have anybody saying things that I need to talk about before I jump through. And next week we're going to start. We have a guest. I think we have a guest several times. next week. But let me go ahead and see what my great folk here are saying. But these are important concepts. Okay, let's see. All right, let's go back down here and talk to, where was I before? Okay, Lawrence, Donald, and others are dismantling Obamacare. Yes, I read that already. A single payer would not be better, cheaper healthcare. There is better and cheaper healthcare in the cash-only parts outside of government and insurance programs. Mike Cisak, I'm not anathema to what you just said completely. Okay? In other words, the cash system is fine. But guess what? The cash system is the single payer system. The fact that you think that somehow single payer is not going to be cheaper means that you have to bend your mind in such a fashion that math no longer works. The reason for the single payer healthcare is because the cash system will work for cuts. The cash system will work for a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s, but the cash system does not work for cancer. The cash system works for none of that. So what we do is we have an insurance policy for everybody called the government, and we all pay into it progressively. I can show you numerically that it works. And I don't have to tell you that, not the Heritage Foundation, but another conservative think tank inadvertently made Bernie's point when they showed that, it's going to cost a few $100 billion less than the commercials, than the for-profit system. But it's even better than that. That the system that they said would cost several $100 billion less than the for-profit system insures everybody. Our for-profit system leaves 30 to 40 to 50 million people uninsured. And that's the point that a lot of people even missed of how good that report, that conservative report was for us all. Remember, that's how it is. Case Escamilla, The Rock is making moves with the gurus. I say it's possible. Just thoughts. We need a fighter either way. We actually have better outcomes for the population we have. We have better cancer survival rates and better survival and results overall. The problem with our other claims is that we can't, is based on false comparison, not on actual rate. That is absolute. That has been disproven so many times. The absolute rate, even if you want to discount gun violence, we are still not better off. But you shouldn't discount gun violence. But you shouldn't discount overdoses, because all of those are health problems as well. Not because the gun lobby says, we're not going to put gun injuries into healthcare. Doesn't mean it should be so. Why would somebody kill another person? They're mentally ill. It's a problem. Folks, please. U.S. health outcomes compared to other countries. Look, you go to the OECD for that, the OECD for that. You don't go to Forbes. You go to the OECD for those numbers, okay? Anybody who goes to an American publication for healthcare results, I mean, some of them are going to be truthful, but you should never go to an American-only publication when you're looking for these types of results, when we are indoctrinated into believing that we must have a for-profit healthcare system. Let's see, Lawrence Sims, we have more than enough other than Bernie discussing those issues. Maybe for the betterment of the movement, Bernie should step aside. I don't want to just come straight out and say that, but I would like Bernie to voluntarily say, you know what, I am going to keep the process going, but I'm going to get younger people to start pushing this message and getting this people to get involved in this message. Mike Cisak, Truth Out is a very leftist political website that doesn't report truthful articles. Are you kidding me? I actually reblog many Truth Out articles because they are, in fact, fact-based, and they usually have very good corroborating information. So I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. Okay. Larian Mislovelic. Oh, let me see how they say it. Misolasavjevic. Bernie had big ideas but little impact on Capitol Hill. Dems who worked with him say that he contributed to the debate but rarely forged actual legislation or left a significant imprint on any in the 30 years he has been in Congress. Remember that the average Democratic voter in middle of the road... No. The average Democratic voter is not middle of the road. That is not the truth, my dear friend. The truth of the matter is the average Democratic or Republican voter are pretty darn leftist. They just don't allow themselves to believe it. But when they're asked for the policies that they want, it is generally leftist policies. Mike Cisak, yes, Michael, you claim any websites that I post often with actual facts are biased, and you don't take the fact from them. So you are, come on, guys. Mike Cisak, Egberto, why are you saying that people are too stupid to figure out that they need? No, I'm not saying they're too stupid at all. I am not saying they're too stupid. I'm just saying you work with externalities and you work with external events have an influence on you. So it's not about people being stupid. I don't think anybody's stupid. Is it, here's Daniel Ledo. Is it me or does Egberto seem to have a singular focus on healthcare? I think because he knows that once we allow government healthcare, that he is that much closer to the socialist crap show. Oh, wow, I love that. But democratic socialism, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's see. Progressive billionaire contradiction in terms. I agree with you, Michael Rudnin. Mike Cisak, Medicare for all is still not plausible. Yes, it is. The numbers still show Medicare for all is pure fantasy. Well, we'll see. Sanders' plan would cut payments to providers such as hospitals and doctors by 40%. I don't know that that is the case, and I won't argue those numbers that you just pull out there, but I'll say one thing, okay? Right now, they're overpaid. And I'm not talking doctors. I'm not talking necessarily about doctors, because the thing with doctors is we have such a lousy system that my daughter, who is currently a pre-med student, when she's done, I paid her undergrad. And when she's done with med school, she'll probably be out $500,000. And she has to pay that back to do her job. And that she wants to go into helping the poor when she gets her stipend. So I'm hoping to get a good progressive in there who are going to give forgiveness to these people who have these loans who are doing benevolent work. Mike Cisak, Michael, the New York Post sites actually quoted the government. See, you are not addressing the facts. Okay, I don't know what that is about. But anyhow, we're coming close to the end of the program, and I have to tell you guys, please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, and support progressive media. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to do as far as changing the mindset. Earlier, I said I don't hate people. I don't not like people. What I don't like are mindsets. I stole that, or I'm paraphrasing it though, but I stole that from actor, I don't remember his name right now, but it's a good phrase to live by. All of you, that is why I give all the respect that I can to Michael Cisak, to Daniel Ledo, and all the conservatives that I appreciate actually being on this program constantly. I have a lot of progressives, I have a lot of in the middle folks that listen to the program, and I want you all. I don't only want you guys to listen to the show. I beg you guys to share it with your folks as well, so that you can bring them in and we can have a fruitful discussion, right? And look, there are times that you may actually convince me of something, and if you do, I'm going to come on here on air and say it if it's right, because my thing is not about simply ideology. My ideology, I believe, is the better of the two ideologies that we discuss here mostly. But if I can adopt something from yours that makes mine better, I will. And that is how I think you should be as well. So I'm humbly asking you, the only way this can survive, politics done right, is if ultimately we get enough subscribers to make us viable. And to do that, I ask you to go to patreon.com/politics done right. We do a whole lot of work. And by the way, today I heard from the Elizabeth Warren media person as far as being able to have an interview with her. We haven't yet been able to set a date because right now, as you can imagine, they're going through a whole lot of stuff. But we made it onto their preferred list. So sometime, I don't know how soon, we will in fact get an interview with Elizabeth Warren. Now, here is the thing. I'd like all of you that have the wherewithal that can, I'd like you to become subscribers from $1.99 right on the way up, whatever you can. I mean, you do the cable, you do the others, and you know I'm going to be out there doing the work. You know I'm going to be out there talking to the folks. You know I'm going to be out there bringing people who otherwise would not have a voice, give them a voice like we did all week this week, and we will be doing next week, and on and on. It is a hard job, and you guys all know that. Producing, writing, all of that every day to do something is necessary. It's important, And all that I ask, we're not doing all of this just for the sake of doing it. We're doing this to make a difference. So please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, and be a part of the family. I want to start our, like I mentioned in the 10 different things we're going to do this year, I want to start the group chat. We're going to start having the group chats. I'd like you guys to, just inside of the comments, tell me what day and time. I would like to do it twice a month. What day and time would you guys think it's best to have these group chats where we all come on with Zoom? You're in front of your TV, your camera, and your Facebook group, and we chat. And you know how I am. We're not going to fight. We're going to chat. We're going to converse. We're going to talk about other things that we can talk about. I already have the Zoom channel. I'm going to move the Zoom channel to a premium channel so that we can have better features in it. But what I want to do is create an engaging environment where we all talk together, where we all converse, and where we can come up with ideas. And you'll be there, and you'll be just one of the many, or whomever is comfortable in doing that. And I hope a lot of you are comfortable in doing that. It's the new world, so let's do it. So please go, folks, patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, to go ahead and become a subscriber. Or you can just go to politicsdoneright.com and give a one-time donation if that's all that you want to do. But please help us move the progressive message forward. We have a lot of work to do. I thank you immensely. I thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. I honor your time because I know it takes time. And we'll be right back with you on Monday. Monday, I have a guest. I have to read up on his book because it's an important guest. And sometime soon also, I have another book that I want. This is the other book that I'm getting the author out here as well. So there's a whole bunch happening, my friends. There's a whole bunch. With that, patreon.com/politics done right, or go use PayPal at politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby, and it goes this way. I am out.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled EGBERTO. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.